And welcome to 705 Sports. Dan is back with me at the desk today. And Dan, you are staying again for the full half an hour.
Every time you say I'm back, I think I've made a presence that I'm just here. Okay, yes. And
I've done the odd show.
People that wasn't here or weren't here was Emily's SE Security, but we'll go with that in a moment. Our poll question, who is to blame for what happened in the stands at BMO Field? And I think personally there's blame to be had by everybody, but MLSE, it is the prime culprit. You have security there to stop this. Mm-hmm. There's no punches, there's no ejections, there's no,
And, you know, one thing I've seen around in the community in general, no one fully seems to understand what happened when. So I went through the land of Twitter.
Oh, God.
This took a very long time to do. And I made a little bit of a video collage of what actually happened. So the viz is going to come right up on your screen. And that's me on the screen still, but that is A-OK. So what starts off here is this is what's happened at beginning where McLeod Buffalo Thompson pushed the camera out of the way, which he has since apologized. Here's where it all first started, was when the Tiger Cats fans were throwing beers at them and jumping the stands. Yes. Again, the Argo players should not be that aggressive back, but remember, these fans have been throwing beers at them since before even kickoff, which certainly is an issue. As you can see,
and they just lost.
And they just lost a tough game. And you know what? This just isn't enough security here. You know, if you went back earlier in the video, I give one player credit. I don't have it on this. But one of the players, while beers being thrown at him, was actually still signing autographs. So give the Argo players some credit where credit was due. So, but then all this happens. As you can see, there's not enough security.
And a couple of players tried to do their best to stop other players from doing this.
And if you look here, so this is actually the same fan that actually jumped the guardrail back there.
Yeah.
And this is when we get into the bigger fight, which, again, the Argo player can't do what he's doing, but at the same time, where is the security? And, Dan, and I'm not saying this to all Tiger Cats fans, okay? And I'm not.
There's a segment of every fan base that would do exactly what they do.
100%. But, like, at the same time, too, I feel Hamilton does have a very loud and proud fan base, which I'm not criticizing them for that.
No.
So I'm not really blaming the fans or the players.
Like I said, there is a portion of every fan base that when they get too much alcohol and too much bravery does exactly
I don't know how they could afford to get that drunk, because it's $13 a beer.
It's $13 a beer, and then you're throwing it. But neither here nor there, there isn't a fan base out there that doesn't have that person or those
and 100%.
Fans.
And you know what?
If it was the other way around, you may have Argo fans throwing beer cans at the Hamilton team as they're leaving the field. It does, and the other part of that is the rivalry that's there from being less than 100 kilometers apart.
Which I will say, this game, which we have a graphic that breaks down what happened in this game, that's going to come up on your screen. But I think this game really revitalized the rivalry between the Argos and the Tiger Cats. And I'll be honest, Dan, I think you were sweating it in the first half.
Well, what I don't understand, and I said this to you pretty much day up, when you guys take the ball down to the 3, 2 drives in a row, who does not have the balls to call for a third down play to try and put it in the end zone? You were running the ball well. Even if you don't, you're pinning Hamilton on their 2, on their 1, because you're probably not getting no yards on it.
And let's be honest, too, Hamilton to start the game was not playing well.
Mazzoli.
But you know, we have some viz of the first quarter, so I want to take a look at the viz in the first quarter here. And you're going to see what I was talking about, Dan. In the first quarter, Toronto was moving the ball downfield. McLeod Buffalo Thompson looked sharp. They were getting good gains from short yardage and long yardage. That's courtesy of TSN, not MSG, so I apologize for the graphical error on my behalf. But the running game was doing its job. The blocking was doing its job, and they were moving downfield, and this is on that opening drive. And it looked here like they were going to get that touchdown, got the matchup they wanted, and they just couldn't get it. And Dan, I agree with you here. They kicked the field goal here, and when they kicked the field goal, but especially this close, you felt like almost Toronto blew it.
Yep.
Right there. And they kick the field goal, and they just don't get it.
Field goals, especially when you're at home, come back to bite you in the butt.
That kick right there, and you know, Boris Beattie had an outstanding game. And if you look, the Argos' defense at first, they completely shut down Mazzoli and even Evans at first.
I'm not so sold the defense. Our offensive line didn't seem to want to, and I say ours and the Hamilton Tigers. Offensive line didn't seem to want to not show up. Or it's almost. They will play for Evans, but they you know.
Now, mind you,
there's a weird dynamic there between the offensive line and Mazzoli, and I don't think everybody understands.
I do want to say, though, the Argos' defense is better than their stats.
Absolutely.
And I think they showed that in that game. But when this game completely changed, there's some other viz in the second half. Yeah. Evans comes in, which he actually came in the second quarter, but he didn't really get much going in the second quarter. The second half is when Evans comes in. And really what started it all, though, was this punt return here.
Yep.
So Hamilton early stalls the Toronto Argos drive in the second half. They're up 12-0 at this point. Looks like Toronto's pretty much in control. Instead, Hamilton gets a fantastic rushing touchdown off a punt return. And Dan, would you agree with me then by saying this is when Hamilton really starts to take over?
I think there was glimpses of the momentum changing at the end of the second quarter, but this is where it flips.
And so you see there too, and we talked about how Toronto didn't have the balls to make a play. Look how they faked the field goal to get that first down, which then turned into another touchdown, giving them the lead. It was from that point on, you could see Hamilton was more gutsy than Toronto. Mind you, this was a great game. Either way.
Either way, it's a great game. And I hope it's not the Argos' last game.
It's not. You notice now that talk's pretty much disappeared.
That talk has pretty much disappeared, and I think it might have had something to do with trying to draw fans. Mm-hmm. But we have to move on. We have another game that was just as good, and somehow Winnipeg walked out with it.
Barely.
This is not the CFL Chapter. You guys are absolutely amazing individuals, and we love interacting with you. And the Rough Rider fans in there take a beating on a fairly regular basis, but they almost beat you.
And you know what? I think that was Saskatchewan's best game. Realistically, all year, we have a graphic that's going to break down a bit more about what really happened in this game. Rough Riders forced 6 turnovers, but they just couldn't score enough off them.
And when I went into this last week when we were talking about it, I said if you could take the ball away and keep the ball and have time of possession on your hands, which is what the Rough Riders were able to do, and score early, they missed the score early part. They didn't convert those 6 into 35 points. Or whatever. You had that as this was your here. You know, they gift wrapped these points to you, and I mean, you couldn't convert.
What really changed the game was when the running game started to really get going for Winnipeg of Andrew Harris. But I want to look at some viz of the beginning of this football game, and this is where really, I'll be honest, watching this game from home, I honestly thought Winnipeg was going to lose with the way they started, and they looked fired up to be playing in Winnipeg, and I think the weather like this, I think, benefits the weaker team.
What quarter did you get back at?
Oh, I mean, I was there right for it, right? Yeah. So it was.
I thought you were at the Argos game.
No, it was one heck of a game.
Yeah.
And it came down. There was a couple key turnovers that Saskatchewan forced, as you can see here, but it just wasn't enough. They weren't able to turn these big plays into big points.
Well, and when you watch it. And I watched it from the very beginning. Saskatchewan came out rougher. They came out more ready to play. They came out, you could see some rust that we worried about with the Blue Bombers. Mm-hmm. So all of these things were concerning if you were a Blue Bombers fan. And some fans were a little worried. In the end, they pulled it out. But the Blue Bombers come out and play the way they did that way for the first 2 against Hamilton. As long as Hamilton shows up, it's going to be a good game on Sunday.
It will be. And I think
I know we have a graphic for that, right?
And I know too, yeah, we do have a graphic. So let's skip ahead a little bit and let's start getting into the breakdown of our Grey Cup game. So this is going to be a really close game. What do you think, Dan?
I have to go with Tiger Cats. And if you look at, again, going back to some of the Facebook groups, there's a lot of people pulling for Hamilton. Whether it's possible or not, it's another question. I think if Evans starts and can be as accurate.
Evans is starting. That's been confirmed.
Okay, so Evans is starting. I'd missed that part already. But Evans starts and is as accurate and the team plays to that level, Winnipeg's in trouble.
You know, we have a graphic that's going to break down these two teams in our key matchup. So let's get that up there. There we go. Second time's the charm. For the Blue Bombers, no turnovers. Score in the first. Don't let the crowd get to you. Hamilton's crowd is going to be loud. It is a sellout.
They might even throw beer at you.
And play a full 60. For Hamilton, I think, you know what? Kind of what they did in the Argos. Wait for your big plays and then make the strong defense bend and don't break. And what I mean by that is, again, when you look at against Toronto, that the defense bent a lot, but they never completely snapped.
Right.
And I think that's going to be key. Dane Evans is the starting quarterback, and he's in my keys because Evans needs to fix what happened in the last one. And we have some viz of the last Grey Cup game. And Evans struggled in the 2019 game. And so did Hamilton in general. But, I mean, I think you're right, Dan. If Hamilton comes out the way they did in the second half against Toronto, and if they can contain Winnipeg's running game, which, let's be honest, they had a bit of a hard time against Toronto's running game, and Andrew Harris is a lot better than DJ Foster, as much as Foster and Worthy run very different.
What I don't understand is how we kept Steinbach 29 yards and then we let Toronto run all over us. That to me didn't...
Remember, though, we talked about this. There's a big difference between running up the middle and running the sides, and Andrew Harris can do both. And that's where I think Hamilton could struggle. I'll be honest with you, and I'm not just saying this because I'm an Argo fan. I think Winnipeg's going to go back-to-back. I really do. I think Winnipeg's going back-to-back.
If Harris gets the 200 yards that it's predicted, yeah, Hamilton's not keeping up.
But I do have to say something, as I told you I would say. Oski Wee Wee, Oski Wawa, Tiger Cats, eat 'em raw. It hurts internally. It's difficult.
And we'll give you a minute to get over
so
that.
you go talk about Greyhounds right now.
Yeah, so unfortunately last night they did lose in overtime. They're coming back to earth, and this is a conversation we had afterwards here. They're coming down to earth from that hot start. They're starting to, and you're going to see some, I think this last night game?
This is from a game against Saginaw a couple weeks ago when they were really playing the way they wanted to. But in last night's game, their defense is just becoming a problem. I mean, they think they got...
Not becoming, it has been.
But it's starting to show.
It's being exposed because you've lost your scoring. Mm-hmm. You can't score 9 goals to score 6.
No.
Like, you still score 6, and if Tyler, and I forget his last name is, and I can't say it even if I didn't remember what it was, comes in and plays the way he did before he was injured in Niagara Falls, and good on him for making the effort and everything else to come back. And I hope, for everybody's sake, that he bounces back. He was like the second or third best goaltender in the league. And if we can get a glimpse of that, and this is no offense to the 2 goaltenders that are already here, but if we can get a glimpse of that, making 5% more of the saves,
you're all of a sudden the Hounds become a much more deadly team.
A 4th or 5th place team instead of maybe a 6th, 7th, 8th place
Which
team.
Right now they're still in the top, but I think they're going to start to unfortunately go down a little bit. But we got to go to a break or else we're going to get in a lot of trouble. So don't go anywhere. Enjoy some season's greetings. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Come right back. Don't go on your trolley. We'll be right back.
Hi, we're the crew from the Canadian Bushpine Heritage Centre. Christmas is coming in about 24 days. We just want to take this opportunity to say thank you to the folks in Sault Ste. Marie and surrounding area for your support during the last 12 months. We want to wish you and your family and your friends the very best for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
From all of us at Construction Equipment, we'd like to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas!
Season's greetings from all of us at Maker North.
I have no idea what he was doing coming out with Trolley, but I'm happy to see that we're rolling back into the next segment. Told you I'd work with it. The Leafs. The Leafs were rolling, and now they are rolling on the ice, being manhandled, and that game was just ridiculous.
As Austin Matthews put it, it was a gong show. Number one, I don't know how the heck Dubois doesn't get a penalty for wrestling. I don't know how Pionk doesn't get a game misconduct for deciding Sandin doesn't deserve to have a leg. And then Pionk only gets a 2-game suspension for that hit, which I don't think is enough at all, considering, look at Sandin, he can barely even skate. That was a dirty hit. And to not call a penalty, which causes Jason Spezza to, I agree by saying he crossed the line, but it caused Spezza to cross the line. He was mad, he was angry about the hit because it was a dirty hit. And when Spezza's hit dirty, Yes.
Okay.
People are comparing it to the Corey Perry situation and John Tavares, which
And-
I do see some similarities.
And whether it be the TML locker room or some of the other ones, there were Toronto fans, and rightfully so, enraged with the NHL. It does look a lot like the Perry hit. He was going down a touch. Nobody got suspended. Was he going for penalty? Absolutely.
Oh,
he was.
100% he was.
Is that hit a really good body check to the and probably a boarding or charging call? Absolutely.
A 6-game suspension, though.
A 6 for somebody with a clean record.
6 games. 6 games for someone with he has played over 1,000 games in the NHL.
Brad Marchand slew foots Vancouver Canucks probably best player and gets 3.
Who is
It's
a repeat
almost
offender?
like it's almost like repeat offenders
Are getting lost now.
it's not going to matter if we give him 6 or 10 or 15. He's going to do it anyway, so whatever. This seemed almost like the NHL taking a chance to make Toronto worse for 2 weeks. Then we lose Marner.
You lose Marner and
We lose Sandin. As much as I hate to say that's...
Dermott's injured as well, which we're going to get into the injury report in a bit.
As much as I hate to say losing Sandin didn't seem like it'd be a big deal at the beginning of the year,
It's a big deal.
it's a big deal. Where's your depth?
And I will say, I love to see this from the Leafs, though. When we used to never see a pushback. And we saw it with Clifford and Simmons. Kyle Clifford is a absolute beast. And I have no idea why Paul Maurice was so angry about this fight. I mean, you have to look at if you're Winnipeg and you throw these hits, you have to expect a team to answer. And Dan, do you remember Toronto answering like this?
Not for
a long time.
I think I said to you on the phone there after this game, Darcy Tucker.
Yeah.
You got to go back to Clark and Tucker and the days where they protected Doug Gilmour.
Where now I think we're getting back to that with Wayne Simmons and Kyle Clifford and even
I think the
Jason
message was
Spezza
sent when
and
Winnipeg
Nick Ritchie.
when Winnipeg wouldn't put their 2 players on the ice for the last 10 minutes of the game. I think the message is don't with the Leafs.
Yes, I 100%.
I think that went completely like league wide.
Which, you know what, and I think people will say they didn't get the 2 points. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really give 2 whatevers about the 2 points.
Has anybody?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The
Anybody
important thing was
circled the rematch for this one already?
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that. But the Leafs lost to the Lightning with a bit of a depleted lineup. So what we're going to do now, let's look at the Leafs injury report. And a lot of these have been caused over the last couple weeks. So you have Travis Dermott, who's out day-to-day with a shoulder.
Sounds like he might be back tomorrow.
Which will be good. Peter Mrazek, we still don't know what's going on with him. He's in his conditioning stint.
Can we back that up a second? Did I just hear you say Dermott back is good?
Yeah, Dermott's been good this year.
Okay, so
Mitch Marner, we're looking till January. Sandin, late December, early January.
Mikheyev could be Saturday, too.
Mikheyev could be as early as Saturday. So the Leafs, although we're banged up, they are about to get some key players back. But right now, let's take a look at what the Leafs look like at this moment. We have a graphic that's going to come up that kind of just shows the Leafs lines. You know what? I love visuals, Dan. I'm sorry. We are not the nicest people to look at. So you know what? We do lots of visuals.
Do you hear me arguing with that conversation?
So you look at that. Simmons, I find it interesting to see they've been putting Simmons up on the top line. He's been playing really good of late. Simmons, Matthews, Bunting, Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander. Ritchie finally gets a goal this week and on that third line.
Please note, Matthews hasn't been ragdolled since Simmons showed up on his wing.
And I think that's part of the thing. I think because somehow Matthews hasn't drawn a penalty yet this season, as Sheldon Keefe pointed out. Don't understand that at all.
I do, because he lets himself be ragdolled.
Yeah, but
he doesn't retaliate.
Okay, but hear me out. If Connor McDavid is ragdolled like that, what happens? Sidney Crosby gets ragdolled like that. What happens?
I have zero issue
gets
that I will
like
agree
that.
with you forever
What
and a day
happens?
that there's a serious bias between the 1A, 1B, 1C,
Yeah, but
and the rest
Matthews
of
is
the
a
league.
1A player.
No,
This is ridiculous.
but he's a 1A player on the Leafs.
But like not even just the whole NHL, the double standards. This isn't on the script. I'm just getting in a rant here. The double standards in the NHL is ridiculous. And we go back to that Neil Pionk knee. If that was Nazem Kadri, that's like 50 games.
If that's Brad Marchand, he's out of the league.
But because it's Neil Pionk, who by the way has a history of doing this. He has a history of doing this.
I think it's his second time he's suspended for knee on knee.
No, but like, he even did this to Marner last season, which he didn't get suspended for. For some reason, the league doesn't suspend knee on knees very often, even though they are career-ending potential hits. But I don't know. We got to move on to Vancouver Canucks because I could go on about this for an hour. Vancouver Canucks decided to clear house. They hired new coach in Bruce Boudreau, interim GM and vice president Jim Rutherford, and they're trying to see if they're 2-0 under Bruce Boudreau. But they're trying to figure out what the heck to do with Vancouver. Is it the players? Is it the coaches? So what I wanted to do, and Dan, you've said most of the year Vancouver's a better team than they look.
They on paper, they're a mid-tier West team. On paper. If we played this game on paper, the Leafs would have won the cup. But maybe. But on paper, they're a mid-tier West team. On the ice,
they're terrible.
They look like a mid-tier West team in glimpses. Mm-hmm. For 1 or 2 or 5 minutes out of every game that you watch them play, they look like, oh my God, this team could beat anybody. It's the other 55. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think part of that other 55 was the coaching.
And now they've cleared house. I think Bruce Boudreau is actually a good decision. He's a player's coach.
Who else were you going to put there?
Me.
Okay. Yeah.
But
we had this conversation.
Let's take a look at some of Vancouver's key players. Because, funny enough, my brother and I have this argument. My brother says Vancouver is terrible and they have no good players. Why don't you look at that list? They have quite a few good players. They have Bo Horvat, Niels Höglander, Brock Besser, TJ Miller, Elias Pettersson, Alvin Lekman-Larsson, Demko, and Pearson. And that's just some key... There's more players if you actually keep looking down the list.
If you bail on this season, 3 of those players are gone at the deadline.
Well, I think Vancouver needs to make that decision. Does this core work? Or does this core need to be changed? And I want to see...
Are they 1 or 2 years behind Toronto in making that decision? Does this core work? Do you keep that core
Mind you,
there?
Toronto's had more success.
I appreciate that.
Like a lot more success than Vancouver.
They're going as far as Demko goes. Toronto's going... I can't say that this year. I can't say Toronto's going as far as Soup takes them. Yes...
To an extent, you can.
You can... But there's more pieces ahead of Soup to make up for some of the...
But let's be honest, Vancouver should not be a bottom feeder right now. Vancouver should be around, I would say, between 8th to 5th in the West, like a low mid-tier team.
Yeah.
And right now they are at the bottom of the barrel. So I'm curious to see what they do under Bruce Boudreau and see, then this is the test. If Vancouver Canucks players, if you want to stay in Vancouver, I hear it's very nice in BC, no snow like here in Sault Ste. Marie, start playing better.
Well, see, and...
Plain and simple. Play better.
We're going to move on from Vancouver to people that might want to start playing somewhere other than the desert.
Yes.
So there's talks at the NHL table this week of expansion. Again. They're talking Houston. They're talking Kansas City. They're talking Quebec.
Yeah, Quebec's the only
again.
one that makes sense to me.
Okay. You can solve this 2 ways.
Move Arizona.
You can move Arizona to Houston or Kansas City.
No, put them in Quebec.
Okay, move Arizona to Houston and Kansas City. Make Quebec pay the expansion fee to get in.
Because they'll pay it.
Because they'll pay it. You could... Houston and Kansas City are going to pay the expansion fee too. But take an established team... You could take the established team in the Arizona Coyotes and put them in Quebec.
The whole 3,000 fans that they have.
But I say established as in... players on the ice. You're not drafting. You're not doing whatever. And you're going to watch Quebec City support a team that's mired in mediocrity for the first 3 or 4 years while they figure out how to fix the ship. If you give Quebec City an expansion team, you're doing something that the NHL doesn't like. They don't like Canadian teams because we don't make
as much
American money. And as much as it would be nice to see them there, if you give them an expansion team, you're giving a Canadian team a chance to win in 3, 4, 5 years. Fairly quick. Give the expansion team to Houston. Put Arizona and Quebec. Give up on hockey in the desert.
Because it just
and go from
doesn't
there.
work. And I look at it here, and because people say, well, Arizona, the arena's bigger. But they can't. They have literally tried giving away the tickets. Literally.
They've done the Las Vegas thing.
They will literally. No, I have friends in Arizona. You can literally go there and get a ticket. At least you used to be able to. They can't go. They currently owe the arena a crap ton of money.
Which they're set to pay.
Which they are set to pay, but give up. The arena will make more money if Arizona leaves, if the Coyotes leave, because they could sell that and use it as a venue space. But for us to make money, we need to go to a commercial break. There'll be no trolleys this time, but stay right there and we'll be right back.
Sending love from our Nogdawindaman family to yours this holiday season.
These times can often be difficult, so we send along the message to be gentle and kind in everything you do.
Wherever possible, sprinkle that holiday magic in everything that you do.
Happy holidays from Nogdawindaman.
If you ask the Five Eyes, which is a political group, whether this is a good thing that's about to happen in the new year, this is footage of the Olympic venues out in China. Most of them would say great for the athletes, not so great for the politicians. Canada has joined those multiple other countries now in doing a diplomatic boycott of the Olympic Games. Okay, so Canada has boycotted Olympic Games in the past. They boycotted, I believe it was Moscow, and they boycotted the one in Germany just before the Second World War. Both of those full boycotts didn't really make a lot of difference. The Olympics go forward anyway. They're the Olympics.
Nobody cares.
Political boycotts, all they tend to do is piss off politicians.
Well, that, and I'd also say, if anything, the Olympic Committee just saves money. It's like, okay, now we don't need to worry about any of these idiots. And I'm not saying they're idiots, but like that's the way they are looking at it. So I am, between Dan and I am not the politically correct one, but that's okay. But like, I look at it, if you're going to boycott the Olympics, why not? I'm not saying they should or they shouldn't before anyone jumps down my throat. I'm just saying hypothetically. Just don't send the athletes. I think just saying
that's a kick in the pants to all of your athletes who
I
have worked
understand
their
that.
whole lives towards this goal, and you're taking it away because of where the Olympic Committee chose to put
Which
the
I don't know why the
Olympics.
Olympic Committee put it in China again for the second.
Money.
Money.
That exactly.
Money.
Like
yes, I do.
the Olympic Committee is going to put Olympic Games wherever they're going to think they're going to make the most money on said Olympic Games. That's just the way they work. Or the Olympic committee that says, "Oh, we'll pay you the most to host them." Vancouver is still digging out.
Yes, I know.
From
I don't know why
time.
countries want the Olympics so bad. You don't make money off it. Like straight up, you don't. You lose money.
It used to be a prestige thing, and I think it's even starting to lose. When you keep putting it in China and other places, I think you're starting to lose the prestige side of it too.
But
I could go on about this, but we are not a political show.
We're not. All I wanted to say was there are a lot of athletes that are calling out to other athletes to tell them just don't go. I'm wondering here if athletes are going to use the COVID, I don't want to say excuse, the COVID reason to not go to the Olympics, but it's really because they're just not comfortable with the whole situation. Robert Leonard already says he's not going due to his mental health, and I don't...
The NHL has kind of put themselves in a box here.
They may not go still.
They fought, and the NHLPA and everybody else fought so much to be allowed to go to this Olympics, only to turn around now and say, yeah, maybe not.
No, to be honest, I think also, too, they were expecting the world to be different than what it is at the moment. But, Dan, you're right. We're not a political show, but I just wanted to bring that up to the attention, what's going on at the Olympics. And, you know, honestly, viewers, let us know what you think even. Do you think this makes sense? Let us know.
Send us an email.
Send us an email. We don't fight.
Send us a video clip on what you think. We'll air it. We didn't do a video clip this week, by the way, because we did have two questions right at the top that we did try to address. Whose fault was it?
Yeah, and the Maple Leaf situation.
And the Maple Leaf situation.
So that's why we didn't do the Streeter question per se, but that was the questions that both Dan and I were asked by pretty much everyone.
We do have to do a little bit of a roundup with the Winnipeg weekend roundup with the Winnipeg Jets and Vancouver Canucks.
Now we don't start with
yes we do because they play tonight at 10. Get with it. The Winnipeg Jets keys to victory are they have to score first and don't get too cocky. If they play the way they did against the Leafs, they're going to win this game.
I don't know about that because I don't hear me out here. Vancouver is a team that they're feeling good right now under the new coach. And I think with Winnipeg, that Leaf win made them very arrogant. When you saw Logan Stanley acting like he just won the Stanley Cup because he won a wrestling match, and I wouldn't even call that a fight. If it was a real fight, Logan Stanley, you would have got your butt handed to you by Wayne Simmons. But for Vancouver, if they can build off their last couple wins, Demko can just be Demko and go back to what Bruce Boudreau talked about. They just shoot the puck. Shoot the puck from everywhere. Get your shots on net, and I think that's also going to help a guy like Brock Besser, who, let's be honest, Besser should be a 30-40 goal scorer in this league, who struggled, and he's not shooting enough. So I think if the whole Canucks team can just shoot,
and
they have a shot and score. But let's move on to our Saturday game.
I have a question. Why do the Ottawa Senators always end up playing in the afternoon? It's like the NHL is like, here, we're going to try and make Ottawa fans get up out of bed. Ottawa, who doesn't get a lot of full buildings.
No.
You have to get out of bed at 10. You got to be there at noon because it's out in Canada. It's not even in Ottawa. You got to be there at noon for a game that starts at 1. Why does the NHL punish them?
I have no idea, but they are again with their game at 1 o'clock, and we have a graphic coming up Saturday at 1 o'clock, which is the Lightning versus the Senators. So for the Senators, if they can start early, the Sens are still lacking some confidence, even though the Sens have been playing a lot better of late, winning 3 of their last 4, and get lots of shots because the Senators' goaltending is very young. Matt Murray is still down in the minors. No idea what the heck's going on with him. For Ottawa, if they can build off their last couple games and just play a full 60 minutes and get the goaltending, because their goaltending's young. Get pucks in deep, obviously. I think they do have a shot of beating the Lightning. I think any team in the NHL, any team can beat any team on any given night.
But if the Lightning play like they did last night against the Leafs, I don't think that wasn't their best game, but that game's still a game that beats Ottawa. Speaking of those Leafs, though, if Fleury stands on his head for the Blackhawks, the way he has been lately, the Leafs are in trouble.
They are. So at least they're playing the Chicago Blackhawks. And we have a graphic that's going to come up. And look at that. We were just sitting there. There's a graphic. But you look at the keys to victory for Chicago. The Leafs defense is a younger defensive core right now with the injuries. Maybe with Travis Dermott coming back, we might see that changing. But I say get lots of shots because Campbell has never played this many games in a row, and I wonder if you can start to wear him down. Not that I think Soup has been playing bad at all, even of late.
Could we play Hall tomorrow night? Or
Wall
tomorrow night?
Probably not. You're probably going to stick with Campbell. I think you need to see if Campbell can handle all the games in a row to see if you keep Mrazek or not.
Do you wear him out, though? This is the problem. Do you wear him out early and he loses his edge by the playoffs? You got to start thinking, it's Chicago. It's not the best team in the league.
But if Marc-Andre Fleury plays the way he does, it could be a low-scoring game unless Matthews can continue to do what he's doing.
On paper, Wall's better than Campbell.
Well, okay. Settle down, buckaroo. Now let's move on to another thing we can laugh about. The Montreal Canadiens. They'll be battling the St. Louis Blues. And again, we got a graphic coming up.
Why are we even having this?
Montreal, an article will be going up at some point in the next couple of days about what's going on with the Montreal Canadiens again of late. But Montreal, if they can get an early spark and just try to get shots on net, and if Jake Allen can continue to play decent, mind you, Carey Price is practicing in full gear, so we could see Price back soon. But I think St. Louis will probably take this one, and they're just going to hit often and try to score first. Montreal's became a very soft team.
And you've probably figured this out now, but we have graphics for the next two games too. We start with Carolina coming into play. McDavid, and his Oilers.
And the Oilers, you know what? Remember at the beginning of the year when everyone said Edmonton was the best team to ever touch ice, and both Dan and I said they're going to come down to earth? They came down to earth. Edmonton, 2 to 3 players to scoring is not sustainable. I don't think they're going to beat Carolina, and I'm going to tell you why.
This has been their problem, though, every year. Mm-hmm. You shut down those top 2 lines, there's no 2 lines to back them up. Mm-hmm. It was the problem in Toronto until about this year.
And then I look at it with this game, I think they're going to be looking to use their speed. Carolina's a very good team. I know they're the bunch of jerks. I actually love Carolina, to be completely honest with you.
They're the most politically incorrect but fun team to watch.
But I love it. And then last but certainly not least, and what do you know we have a graphic for, is the Flames versus the Bruins. The big bad Bruins, who have not been as big and bad this year. The Flames, however, have been very, very good. The Flames, as always, want to keep scoring low, get their power play on the ice because they seem to score a lot of goals while they're up a man. Or at least they can, again, keep the score low because, the other team isn't trying to score. And then for Boston, they need to, I meant to shut down the Flames top 6, not the Oilers top 6, but that is A-okay. shut down the Flames top six because the Flames have been able
I think they play
to.
the Oilers as well. They're out there too. So
Yeah, so
we'll
just a
just
little bit of a
copy and paste.
Exactly, a little bit of a typo there. But I think Calgary and Edmonton have almost flipped, where Calgary is looking still really good, where we thought Calgary might come back to earth. And Edmonton has came back to earth. Well, Calgary, with their goaltending and their strong defense, have been able to win a lot of games. But Dan?
We need to get out of here because I know we're way past everybody's half-hour lunchtime again.
But
we appreciate you joining us, and we will see you all again next week.
Still won't doubt. We all know that 705 Sports loves to take questions from the community, and we're looking to go one step further. Send in your video question, and it will be used on the show. Dan and I will break down your question and answer it the best to our ability so you can really feel you're a part of the 705 Sports community. 705 Sports airs every Friday at noon on TV and Sioux Online's Facebook page, plus our video on demand service at SiouxOnline.com.